After basic navigation and listing directories, it's time to copy some files. Let's start with creating a new directory. In order to do that, we'll use mkdir command followed by the directory name. You can specify more than one directory. Let's create some subdirectories. I'll start with going into my folder 1 directory and creating subfolder 1 directory inside. Let's create another subdirectory one level deeper. I'm switching to subfolder 1 and creating subfolder 1 directory there. We are now 2 levels below our parent directory. Let me go back to the home folder by executing change directory without specifying any parameters. There's a very handy option to the make directory command, that is -p. It allows you to specify a directory tree to be created. Instead of going deeper and deeper into the folders, you can create the directory and all its parents in one go. Let me show you. Subfolder 2 has been created inside subfolder 1, that is inside my folder 4. All 3 folders were set up in one go. Another nice trick is the use of curly brackets to set up multiple folders with part of the name that is common. An example will make it more clear. Let's say we want to create my folder 5, 6, and 7. Instead of typing make directory and listing the folders one by one, we can simply type make directory my folder, then open curly bracket and list the parts that change separated by comma. It doesn't have to be a number, it can be any string. Just to recap, you should use make directory command to create directories. You can specify more than one directory as a parameter. You can use -p option to create subdirectory and all its parents. You can use curly brackets to specify parts of the directory that change. Before we go into file copying part, let me introduce yet another command called touch. Its primary goal is to update file access or modification time with current time. It has one interesting side benefit. It creates empty files. Let me execute the touch file1 command. As you can see, an empty file called file1 has been created. Now, let's execute the command one more time. Because file1 already exists, touch command did only update its modification time. To play with file copying, let me create a few more files. This time I'm using a range. Basically, you just provide a start and end number within curly brackets, and it will generate a list of numbers from that range. Very fast and convenient way to create some files. Lastly, let's create an empty hidden file. As you remember, hidden files need to start with a dot. Just to recap, touch command is used to change file timestamps. If touched file does not exist, it will be created. Touch command updates file access and modification time to the current time. You can specify exact point in time with -d option. Now that we have a bunch of files and folders, let's try to remove them. There's a dedicated command for that purpose called rm. That's short for remove. Let's remove a single file. As you suspect, the command will be rm and the file name. Okay, the file is gone. We can use wildcards to select more than one file. Let me delete file 2 through file 4. I'll do it with rm fi asterisk. It will catch all files that begin with fi. As you can see, the rest of the files are gone. Moving to folders. Simple rm with the folder name is not enough. By default, rm removes only files. You need to specify the -r option to indicate you want to remove a directory. Of course, rm accepts a list of folders, so you can put more than one folder. You can also use wildcards. Let me delete remaining directories with rm-r myfolder asterisk. Okay, folders are gone. Please mind that -r option stands for recursive. It means it will delete the folder contents. Few more things to mention. Some systems by default have an alias for rm command. Basically, it means that if you execute rm command, it will in fact execute rm-i that will prompt you to approve every deleted file. Let me show you. I'll create few files and try to remove them. As you can see, I need to press yes for every file. You can override this behavior with -f. Often people do -r, -f together with an asterisk to remove all files and folders. That's pretty risky. You'd think that there are no more files in our home directory. However, despite using an asterisk wildcard, there is still one file left. It's the hidden file. By default, hidden files or folders are not cut by asterisk. In order to remove a hidden file, you need to explicitly add a dot. Just to recap, remove command accepts list of files to be removed. In order to remove directories, you need to specify -r option. -r option removes data recursively. It means it will delete all directories and files inside that target directory. Now we know how to create folders and files, so let's do some copying. The cp command that is used for copying files expects source as the first argument and destination as the last argument. Let me start with creating file 1 and copying it to file 2. It's as simple as executing cp file1 file2. Now we have identical copy of file 1 under file 2 name. If we want to copy a file to a folder, we simply put the folder as the target, like this. You can also copy multiple source files to a directory. You just specify all the files you want to copy and put your target directory as the last argument. To make it even simpler, you can use curly brackets to match both file 1 and file 2, or even use a wildcard to catch all files that begin with file prefix and copy them to folder 1. What if you want to make a copy of a directory? As you can see, a simple cp command does not work. In order to copy a directory, you need to use -r option. It's similar to what we used to do for remove. It will copy a directory recursively, with all its files and subdirectories. Now we have folder 2 with exactly the same contents as folder 1. If you want your copy command to be more verbose, to see which files are being copied, you can add -v option. One thing to mention about copying directories. If you copy a directory and the target directory already exists, then your directory will be copied to the inside of the target directory. It's the same behavior as if you would be copying a file to a directory. By default, a copy of a file will have new timestamp. Let's show that by copying file 1 to file 3. If you'd like to preserve the timestamp or other attributes like the owner of the file, you need to use -p option that stands for preserve. As you can see, with that option, the copy has identical metadata as the original. Last thing to mention is that by default, copy will overwrite any files without asking for permission. Some systems may have an -i alias, so if you try to copy a file and the target file already exists, it will ask you for permission. Something to remember. Regarding copying symbolic links, we'll talk about it soon. Just to recap. With cp command, you can create a copy of a file. With cp command, you can copy a file to a directory. If the target is a directory, then you can specify multiple files as a source. If the source is multiple files, then the target needs to be a directory. You cannot concatenate multiple files into one with this approach. In order to copy a whole directory, you need to use -r option. -v option will give you verbose output. -p option will preserve file attributes like timestamp and the owner. Last command I want to talk about in this section is mv, which stands for move. It can be used to rename a file or a directory. Move command is pretty straightforward. You just put source as the first parameter and target as the second parameter. Let's say we want to rename file1 to file1 new, or we want to rename folder1 to folder1 new. Simple as that. Second thing that you can do with mv command is move files to a directory. Let's say we want file2 and file3 to be moved to folder3. Okay, done. mv can also move a folder to another folder. We can just specify source directory and target directory, and we are good. Just to recap, mv command can rename a file or a directory. mv command can move one or more files or directories to a target directory specified as the last parameter. mv command can move one directory to a different directory.